Part 35. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 341. The words just fell. Boom. There was a strong wave, and immediately after, countless people screamed in fear and fled in a hurry. There are people fighting out front. Cao frowned and immediately released his immortality realm aura to help the people resist the aftermath of the battle. Suliang didn't say a word, but he reached out to catch a girl who was sent flying towards her. After putting the girl down, she flew into the sky and instantly appeared in front of a group of talented people who were fighting. Everyone stop it! With a deep shout, Suliang's true essence poured into his throat. The sound was loud and shocking, and immediately attracted the attention of the 5 geniuses who were fighting. "Who is your excellency?" The geniuses immediately divided into 2 sides, but they all looked at Suliang warily. Fighting in a busy city resulted in the death and injury of people and the destruction of families. Who gave you the courage to act so unscrupulously and lawlessly? Suliang's voice was deep and cold, and he immediately shouted to the 5 geniuses. "Humph, so what?" Tianjiao didn't care at all. "As the proud sons of the Shang Zone, we are fighting for the dragon mark. What if it affects some mortals? Your Excellency, your control is too lenient, isn't it? Fighting is not allowed here, and fighting is not allowed in Daxia." Suliang said calmly, without giving any face to the geniuses. "What if we must fight?" The other Tianjiao's eyes narrowed slightly, and he was already boiling with murderous intent. "Use at your own risk." Suliang said calmly. "Okay, then I'll kill you first and then talk about it." One of the Tianjiao shouted angrily, and with a surge of momentum, he punched Suliang. "Roll!" Suliang shouted softly and slapped the genius to the ground with just a backhand, vomiting blood and unable to get up again. Immediately afterwards, Suliang struck again, only with 5 palms. The prodigies who had been domineering and arrogant before lay down on the ground, and it was difficult to even get up. In fact, this is not the first time this kind of scene has occurred. Along the way, Suliang and Cao suppressed the geniuses. No matter who they were, they slapped each other in front of Suliang, just like beating up children. Compared with Suliang, the strength of these geniuses is not at the same level at all. What a world of difference! Lang Jun is so awesome. Cao ran over at this time, hugged Suliang, and said happily. But at this moment, something unexpected happened. I saw. With the defeat of the geniuses, at the moment Cao appeared, a dragon energy sprang out from each of the 5 geniuses on the ground, and entered Cao's body in the blink of an eye. Immediately, Cao looked at Suliang with a strange expression. "Lang Jun, it seems that all these dragon energy have been absorbed by me." "Absorbed?" Suliang raised his eyebrows, grabbed Cao's hand, and looked at the back of her hand. There are no traces of anything there. In other words, Cao absorbed the dragon energy, but did not produce dragon marks. Since it absorbed the dragon energy, why didn't it produce dragon marks? Suliang was a little confused. Volume 1 #picture 320, Mr. Lang is so hot, it's not too much to let him be on top tonight, right? Maybe it's because I'm not talented enough. Cao smiled self-deprecatingly and sensed it again. "Fortunately, it has no effect on my body, so you don't have to worry about this." Suliang nodded. Although he felt something was wrong with this matter, since it had no impact, he didn't pay much attention to it. In a forest lakeside. On the usually peaceful lakeside, on this day, a simple tent was set up. As the tent shook, Cao and Suliang emerged from it, both with happy smiles on their faces. "Ah, very good." Suliang looked at the simple but practical tent in front of him, and nodded with satisfaction. "I never thought that my Majesty would have such ability, and he could even put up a tent." That is. Yang Kaoj raised his head proudly, and then took Suliang's arm and said happily, "My dear sir, it's hard to go camping once, let's go hunting. Just in time, you can also fix our dinner." "Okay." Suliang nodded. He also wanted to know what other skills his treasured majesty had. In the dense forest, two figures flew through the forest on the treetops. They were like giants. Under the after images, the two figures were so fast that they could hardly be caught. They did not make any sound. These two people were Suliang and Yang Kaoj, who came to hunt. "Mr. Lang, the prey is just ahead." Yang Kaoj came to Suliang and whispered to Suliang. Then, in the blink of an eye, a stone appeared in her hand and she flicked it out. Whoosh! There was a sharp sound of breaking through the air. The stone cut through the dense forest, penetrated the thick tree trunk, and hit the prey's head directly. It actually made a bloody hole the size of a fist in the prey's head. Thump! The prey didn't even utter a cry, but fell directly to the ground, its four legs twitched, and then it made no sound anymore. Done. Seeing this, Yang Kaoj clapped his hands and looked at Suliang proudly. "How about it, Mr. Lang, am I good enough?" "It's awesome." Suliang sincerely praised. From the moment he followed Yang Kaoj into the jungle for hunting, Yang Kaoj seemed to have changed into a different person, from the aloof and majestic empress to a silent jungle hunter who could kill with one blow. Yang Kaoj's transformation was so natural that Suliang couldn't react in time. Then, Yang Kaoj took Suliang to find the prey. From the subsequent tracking and killing with one blow, the whole process was smooth and natural, just like art. When it comes to hunting, Suliang dares to say that Yang Kaoj is the most powerful person he has ever seen. While Suliang was thinking, Yang Kaoj had already walked over with his prey. Showing the ferocious beast in his hand that looked very similar to a pig to Suliang, Yang Kaoj said happily, "I have caught a good prey. I have seen this ferocious beast before. Although it looks ugly, the meat quality and taste are all good. It's first class, it's outside, but it's very popular. Hey, Lang Jun, let's go back quickly. I'll roast this beast for you to eat." "Okay." Suliang nodded with a smile, took the beast from Yang Kaoj, and followed Yang Kaoj back to the tent he had set up before. Subsequently, Yang Kaoj found a gurgling stream, took out a short blade, and neatly dealt with the beast, divided it into several parts, and set them on the bonfire. While sprinkling seasonings on the barbecue, Yang Kaoj hummed a song, obviously in a good mood. Not long after, thanks to Yang Kaoj's superb barbecue techniques, the tangy aroma hits the nostrils and makes people salivate. As a member of the royal family, he is proficient in setting up tents, hunting, and barbecuing. My Kaoj is really versatile. Seeing Yang Kaoj skillfully spreading the ingredients and turning the tables, Suliang was slightly moved, feeling that his understanding of his woman might not be as deep as his own. At this moment, Yang Kaoj seemed to sense Suliang's thoughts, turned around, smiled at Suliang, and then said, "Master, don't underestimate me, I am not a rich man. I have been training hard since I was a child. These wilderness survival skills are just part of my training." Hearing this, Suliang couldn't help but ask, "As a princess of Daxia, Kaoj, you have been well dressed and well fed since you were a child. You can get everything you want, so why do you have to work so hard?" "Humph, I just want to prove that I can win Chao Ge and not lose to anyone else." Yang Kaoj stood up proudly, looking arrogant, and said, "What about the princess? It's not my own thing. Others will only think that everything I enjoy in Yang Kaoj is due to my good life experience of. But I refuse to accept it. So what if I'm in the royal family? So what if I'm a princess? That's not a choice I can make, and it's not the key to determining whether I'm capable. I just want them to see that I, Yang Chao Song itself, is not inferior to anyone else." At this moment, Yang Kaoj showed his rare proud side, but it was so dazzlingly beautiful that people couldn't bear to look away. "You girl." Suliang smiled and pinched Yang Kao's cheek. "The fact that you have achieved what you have now has already proven that you are not inferior to anyone." After hearing this, Yang Kao immediately laughed happily. "Hee, it would be great if Mr. Lang recognized me. I don't care about other people." After dinner, Suliang rested for a while, then walked to a lake. Standing by the Qingshui Lake, the silver moon is cold, but it casts a layer of silver waves on the spring water of the lake. Under the moonlight, a full moon is reflected on the lake water, and the moon is phantom in the water, but it is a unique scene in the world. "Kaoj, come quickly, the scenery here is quite nice." Suliang turned around and said hello, inviting Yang Kaoj to come and enjoy the scenery with him. "Come here." Yang Kaoj replied, but there was no movement for a long time, as if his whole person had disappeared. Suliang was puzzled and stood up. Just as he was about to look back and see what was going on, he felt a force suddenly come from behind and push him into the lake. Puff. Suliang emerged from the water, spit out the water in his mouth, and looked at the beauty on the shore dissatisfied. "Kaoj, what are you doing?" But as soon as he finished speaking, Suliang's eyes glazed over and he was speechless. "Mr. Lang, the moon is bright and the stars are sparse at this moment. It's the perfect time for beautiful scenery. Don't you want to do something?" Yang Kaoj's voice was soft and charming, and she slowly stepped into the lake step by step. The cold lake water wetted her clothes, and the inner outline was perfectly highlighted. The moonlight fell down, covering Yang Kaoj with a layer of silver gauze, and at the same time, it also illuminated her face. With a pretty face, reddish color, charming eyes, and pink lips, Yang Kaoj walked up to Suliang slowly, her soft and delicate body wrapped around Suliang. With fresh air blowing against his face, Yang Kaoj licked Suliang's earlobe with his fragrant tongue and said in a tired voice, "Mr. Lang, let's do something together." "Gilug. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator." Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 342. Suliang swallowed hard and felt that Yang Kaoj was full of charm at this moment. "It seems that I have no reason to refuse." Suliang and Yang Kaoj were walking on their way to the next city, but unexpectedly met 6 geniuses who were traveling together. However, since they met in the wild and these geniuses had done nothing wrong, Suliang didn't bother to care about them. Although this trip is indeed to suppress the geniuses, it does not go to the point of suppressing them all indiscriminately. However, Suliang ignored these geniuses, but the geniuses recognized Suliang. "Brother Su." Tianjiao called out to Suliang who was passing by. Seeing Suliang stop, he turned around and saw that this Tianjiao was even more excited. "Brother Su, it's really you. I didn't expect to meet you here again." "Who are you?" Suliang asked a little confused. He didn't remember seeing the person in front of him. "Brother Su, it's normal if he doesn't remember me. I am an unknown person, and my name is not worth mentioning." Tianjiao had a grateful smile on his face. "However, when we were in the dragon cave before, Brother Su saved us by slashing the formation with his sword. We really dare not forget such a life-saving grace. It turned out to be the genius who was with me in the dragon cave last time." Suliang rubbed his chin and wondered what the genius wanted to do when he stopped him. Looking at the direction Suliang and Yang Kaoj were heading, the genius said, "If there is nothing urgent, Brother Su would be better off waiting to go to the city ahead." "Why?" Suliang asked curiously. Tianjiao sighed helplessly. "In the city in front, there are several sex-proud men who are fighting for the dragon mark. The strength of those proud men is average, but the sect behind them is in some trouble, and they are all stalkers. Although we are not afraid of them, we will not offend them for this, so we left early. Brother Su must have a complete dragon mark in his hand, right? If so, when Brother Su enters the city, he will probably be targeted by those people. With Brother Su's strength, he is not afraid of them, but it is not a good thing to be entangled by such stingy and stalking sect members. Thank you for reminding. Suliang clasped his fists and said with a smile, Cao Ji and I came here precisely for this matter. These geniuses are fighting in the bustling city, but they are not caring about the lives and interests of the people. If they are allowed to fight, I am afraid that in the end, I don't know how many people will be killed or injured. So, Kaoj and I walked around various cities in Daxia, specializing in suppressing the trouble-making geniuses and giving the people a peaceful life. Oh, it turns out that Brother Su actually cares about the world so much. Tianjiao glanced at Suliang in surprise, and then looked at his companions behind him. Seeing that his companions all nodded, he said to Suliang, in this case, Brother Su might as well leave the people in the city in front to us to deal with. Brother Su is a life-saving kind to us. Helping Brother Su solve such a small matter is a way for us to repay the kindness and do our best. How about it? It just so happens that Brother Su can take this opportunity to go to other cities as soon as possible. So, thank you very much. Suliang pondered for a moment, then bowed to several geniuses, turned around and left with Yang Kaoj. It is said that the sex genius is unruly and refuses to be obeyed by anyone, but Lang Jun is able to make them put down their dignity and willingly help Lang Jun to solve the problem. Walking beside Suliang, Yang Kaoj's beautiful eyes were full of admiration. Mr. Lang, you are so amazing. Suliang shook his head and said with a smile, it was just for self-protection at the time, but I didn't think much about it. Then, along the way, Suliang met many acquaintances. And because of being the savior of the Dragon Cave before, Suliang's unparalleled strength was fully demonstrated, and he was able to save the lives of these talented people, which can be said to have brought his reputation to the highest point. Therefore, these acquaintances and geniuses showed great respect to Suliang, and all took the initiative to help Suliang solve these troublesome matters. Then, this reality made Yang Kaoj admire Suliang even more. When he looked at Suliang's beautiful eyes, little stars seemed to twinkle. To be able to make a group of rebellious and unyielding geniuses be so respectful and take the initiative to help is something that many elders of the Shang Zone cannot do, right? You are indeed a husband, my man is great. That night, after the two found a place to stay, Yang Kaoj naturally came to Suliang's room. Cao Ji. Suliang looked at Yang Kaoj while packing his clothes. What do you want to see me for? Well, it's a little trivial. I hope Mr. Lang can agree. Yang Kaoj's pretty face was slightly red, and her voice was full of coquettishness. Immediately, without waiting for Suliang to reply, Yang Kaoj pulled Suliang and pushed him directly onto the bed. Yang Kaoj held Suliang's hands with her slender hands, and Yang Kaoj sat astride Suliang, leaned over and kissed her softly, her eyes as charming as silk, and her smile rippling. Your Majesty is so talented that even the geniuses will fall at your feet. My family, this man is really a strong man. I really want to experience what it's like to conquer the strong. So, Mr. Lang, I want to be on top tonight. You girl. Suliang looked at Yang Kaoj speechlessly and simply stopped resisting. My wife, of course I have to meet this small request. In just 2 days, with the initiative of Suliang Yang Kaoj and the help of a group of righteous geniuses, most of the disasters in Daxia were eliminated, except for the last one. And in this last place, the female General Yefei is waiting anxiously. A few days ago, a stunningly beautiful girl came to a certain city in Daxia. The arrogant girl is beautiful and graceful, with her little head held high and her hands behind her back, looking proud and conceited. But matching this pride and arrogance is her incredibly deep true energy. At least, based on this cultivation aura alone, among the two prodigies of good and evil who participated in the Tianzhen Dragon battle, there were only a few who could be stronger than her. When the proud girl walked into the city, she didn't do any big evil. She neither bullied the people nor took human life lightly, but went directly into the palace of the city lord. Subsequently, the arrogant daughter, who was more able to enjoy herself, occupied the city lord's palace and asked the entire Daxia royal family's intelligence network to serve her and help her find the location of the person with the dragon mark. I didn't use your things in vain. Didn't I say that I could protect you for free? Volume 1 Chapter 321, It's not good to eat His Majesty's man secretly, isn't it? Jiaonu looked at Ye standing in front of her and was quite dissatisfied. Oh, you Daxia are really annoying, and it's not like you use your things in vain. Please stop annoying me, okay? You. Ye pointed at the proud girl, feeling so angry that she didn't say anything for a long time. What else can be said? The city lord's mansion has been occupied by others, but they are the top genius after all. She is her opponent. She can't drive them away, and she can't get them back, so what else can she do? Reluctantly leaving the city lord's mansion and returning to her own residence, Ye thought about the things in the city lord's mansion. She felt very helpless and didn't know what else she could do. And this situation continued until the arrival of Suliang and Yingkeoj. Your Majesty, Mr. Su, you are finally here. Seeing Yingkeoj and Suliang falling in the courtyard, Ye hurriedly rushed towards them, looking aggrieved and helpless. Your Majesty, you are a useless general. You can't defeat that woman. There is no way to drive her away. That's why she occupied the city lord's mansion for many days. Your Majesty, please punish me. However, before punishing the general, Your Majesty, please think of a way to drive that woman away. That woman is the supreme sex genius. You are no match for her. You are excusable. Why is it your fault? Why should I punish you? Yingkeoj helped Ye up, and Suliang on the side suddenly said, if possible, please tell us the detailed information about the woman. Hearing this, Ye nodded and began to tell Suliang and Yingkeoj bit by bit the information about the proud girl. Listen to this. That woman's cultivation must be at least the peak of the dragon transformation realm, maybe even the immortality realm. Suliang guessed, if she has this level of strength, then when we fight her, it will affect countless people. Yingkeoj also thought for a moment, with a confident smile on his face, in that case, let's negotiate with her. Arriving at the city lord's palace, Yingkeoj put on a splendid dress and immediately regained her cool and luxurious posture. The majesty vaguely revealed on her body was so heavy that it made people breathless. Who are you? The proud girl frowned and looked at Yingkeoj and Suliang irritably. Didn't I tell you not to bother me anymore? Why, do you think I won't do anything to you since I said I would protect you free of charge? Huh, that's a deal. It's just that I agreed to you because I saw you being pitiful. It's not a promise of gold and silver. If you don't know what's good, I won't be polite to you. Oh, you are still so domineering after occupying other people's place. Is this what your sex elders taught you? Yingkeoj raised his eyes and glanced at the arrogant woman sitting on the throne in front of him. His voice was calm, but majestic and unquestionable. Come down. The words fell instantly. The proud girl felt a great majesty coming towards her face, making her breathless and her heart subconsciously beating a little slower, as if she was afraid of upsetting the woman in front of her. She had only experienced this feeling in front of her angry father. Come down, what's the big deal? The proud girl muttered something, stood up slowly, walked to Yingkeoj, raised her little head proudly. Humph, I'm down here, what do you want? Why, you occupied the main palace of Daxia City and caused such a big trouble. Are you still proud? Yingkeoj said calmly, and suddenly took a step forward. If you admit your mistake now and leave appropriate compensation, I can be lenient and let you go. If you persist in resisting, then never leave again. Wait until the sect behind you comes to replace you with an apology. Listening to Yingkeoj's words, Suliang couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. She is worthy of being the empress of a country. Her wife is really powerful and domineering. On the surface it is a negotiation, but this is an ultimatum. Is that okay? And as Yingkeoj took a step forward, the majestic and domineering aura that was as thick as ink instantly suppressed the proud girl. In just a moment, it completely crushed the proud and arrogant girl. At this moment, the proud girl was completely suppressed by Yingkeoj's aura. You are brave. The proud girl's words were a little incoherent, and she was forced to start backstage. Father Lin Xian, do you know who he is? Lin Xian. Yingkeoj shook his head lightly. I have never heard of it. Humph, he is indeed a worldly person, ignorant, sitting in a well and looking at the sky. Seeing Yingkeoj's denial, Jiaonu seemed to have gained confidence again. She became proud again and actually began to further introduce her sect. You don't know, so I'll tell you about it. My father, Lin Xian, is the sect leader of our section. Our sect is. Before he finished speaking, Yingkeoj interrupted directly, okay, shut up. Immediately. Yingkeoj looked at Sul Yang. In his cool, dignified, majestic, and domineering posture, he suddenly felt extremely proud. I am here to introduce you to my man, Sul Yang, have you heard of him? But as soon as he finished speaking, Yingkeoj turned around and was surprised to see that this proud and arrogant woman started to tremble all over. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 343. Is she scared? Is the name Lang Jun so useful? Yingkeoj thought in his mind, feeling that his previous admiration for his husband was still not enough. But I didn't expect it. The proud girl suddenly came back to her senses and exclaimed, You actually know senior brother Sul Yang, where is he? Did he come with you? I want to see him, hurry up, call him out. No, it should be the little girl who goes to see him. As she spoke, Jiaonu looked admiring. That day in the dragon cave, all of us were trapped by the 10,000 fires and hundreds of refining formation. Even the holy sun couldn't break it, and everyone was in despair. But at this moment, it was brother Sul Yang who stepped forward, broke the formation with his sword, and rescued us all. Well, senior brother Sul Yang at that time was so mighty and domineering, amazingly talented and stunning. His figure, from that moment on, has been engraved in my heart. Hearing this, Yingkeoj's expression changed slightly. Oops, I thought this girl was scared, but I didn't expect that she turned out to be my man's crush. And seeing this girl acting like a nympho when mentioning her husband, this is simply for nothing. This is terrible. Seeing that the proud girl had locked onto Sul Yang and was about to pounce on her, throwing herself into her arms to comfort her idol, Yingkeoj quickly stopped her and said, Girl, calm down. Let me go. But the proud girl quit. Don't stop me from seeing senior brother Sul Yang. Senior brother Sul Yang, look at me. Seeing that the situation was about to get out of control, Sul Yang shook his head and laughed, and walked to the proud girl. Thank you for your love, girl, but girl, do you know why I came to you? Seeing the arrogant girl shaking her head, Sul Yang continued, Girl, it's natural for you to go out to practice and fight for the dragon mark. But being so arrogant and unreasonable today, occupying the palace of another city lord, is not the right way to do it. Think about it carefully. If someone goes to your sect and takes over the place, and you are asked to be grateful to them, what would you do? I don't care about others. I, Sul Yang, dislike this kind of person the least. Hearing this, Jiaonu immediately softened, looking like she had acknowledged her mistake and repented. Senior brother Sul Yang, I know I was wrong, please forgive me. If you know your mistakes and can correct them, there is no greater good. Suliang looked pleased and nodded. Then, after some persuasion from Suliang, the pampered and arrogant young lady took the initiative to leave. After sending the proud daughter away, Suliang, Yingkeoj and Yefei restored the city lord's mansion to its original state and then rested temporarily. While Yingkeoj was away, Yefei approached Suliang and said respectfully, "Thank you, Mr. Su, for taking the initiative to resolve the crisis. Cao Ji and I are family members. Her business is my business. There is no need to say such polite words." Suliang shook his head and looked at Yefei's slightly haggard and pale beautiful face. He couldn't help but frown and said, "Why do you look so bad? Are you too tired? If you are tired, just go and rest. As long as I'm here, nothing will happen. Thank you, Mr. Su, for your help. I'm fine. It's just that the summer has been chaotic recently. I concentrated on dealing with these issues and stayed up late. It doesn't matter." Listening to Yefei's feeble voice, Suliang frowned even more. "How dare you say that it doesn't matter, you just stayed up a little late. I see, you haven't slept all night, right? This is obviously exhausting physically and mentally, okay. Go back and rest quickly. It's not worth getting exhausted over such a trivial matter." Suliang sighed, held Yefei's shoulders, and was about to send her back to the room. But right now, it seemed that everything was over, the breath that supported her disappeared, and coupled with the physical and mental exhaustion of the past few days, Yefei's body softened and she fainted directly in Suliang's arms. The darkness gradually dissipated, and Yefei struggled to open her eyes, but she only felt herself trapped in a ball of warmth and softness. This mass of warmth exudes a reassuring smell that makes people not want to open their eyes. They just feel that it is best to fall asleep like this. But after all, Yefei had been with Yingkeoj for many years, and she still had some self-control. In the end, she still struggled and opened her eyes. What caught her eyes was Suliang's gentle smile. "You're awake." Suliang looked down at her. Tisk, tisk, I told you to go rest, but you didn't listen. Look, you were so tired that you passed out. You said you are more or less a master. Your cultivation level is not low. Just you can still pass out from exhaustion. What have you been doing during this time?" After finishing his words, seeing that Yefei was still a little confused, Suliang turned away and said, "Ahem, I saw you finally fell asleep, and I was worried about waking you up, so I didn't put you on the bed." "Mr. Su, what are you talking about?" Yefei asked doubtfully, turning her head. She saw that she was curled up in Suliang's arms like a young girl getting close to her lover. Volume 1 Chapter 322, Natural Black's Depravity, The Genius is Forcing the Palace. Is this the attitude of begging for help? Suliang sat on the chair, as if worried that Yefei would fall, and hugged Yefei tightly. The two of them were extremely intimate at this time. Even Yingkeoj and the others had rarely hugged Suliang like this. Moment. Yefei understood the current situation. Just now, I actually fainted in Mr. Su's arms. Yefei was startled, and then her pretty face turned red and she was filled with embarrassment. No wonder, when I woke up just now, I felt so warm and didn't want to wake up. It turned out to be because I was in Mr. Suliang's arms. If I act like this, does it count as a little thief eating something behind His Majesty's back? As long as I don't tell His Majesty, I hope your Majesty won't blame me. Thinking in her mind, Yefei reluctantly climbed down from Suliang's arms and stood in front of Suliang. After hesitating for a moment, she suddenly took out a small box and stuffed it into Suliang's arms. "Mr. Su, this is my gift to you." Then, without waiting for Suliang to speak, Yefei continued to stumble and said with a blushing face, as if smoke was rising from the top of his head, Don't get me wrong, I'm just grateful for your rescue, Right, that is it. Yes yes yes. Suliang glanced at the gift with a smile and put it away. Thank you Miss Yefei for the gift. I like it very much. Suliang didn't expect that this girl Yefei could be so arrogant. Regarding the correct use of tsundere, Suliang said that he was very skilled. With just a few words, Yefei's pretty face turned red and she transformed into Steam Princess on the spot. However, she was extremely happy in her heart. Her sweet smile could hardly be concealed. At the dinner table, Suliang, Yingkeoch and Yefei were dining at the same table. Mr. Lang, come and eat this. Yingkeoch picked up a piece of fried crispy meat and handed it to Suliang's mouth, with a warm smile on his face. This kind of ingredient is only fresh near the city, although it can be eaten elsewhere. Yes, but after all, it is not pure and fresh, and the taste is much worse. When I was a child, I really wanted to come here and eat it once. Suliang opened his mouth, but before he could take the food into his mouth, he saw Yingkeoch suddenly stuffing the food into his mouth, biting one end and signaling to Suliang. See this. Suliang smiled, moved forward, and bit the other end. The food gradually disappeared, and soon, Yingkeoch's soft and pink lips pressed on it, and the scene was once very out of control. However, facing the dog food handed out by Yingkeoch and Suliang, Yefei lowered her head and silently picked up the food without saying a word. Just kidding, just now Yefei felt very full and guilty, just now she was eating and playing. How could she talk again to attract Yingkeoch's attention? But she didn't expect that even though she was low-key enough, she still didn't avoid it. After distributing dog food with Suliang, Yingkeoch restrained the idea of going one step further with his own man to become good at this. Yingkeoch glanced at Yefei and couldn't help but remind him, Yefei, you, no one is following you. Grab, why are you eating so fast? Wipe your mouth quickly, you are not eating carefully. These words were obviously not on the same channel as Yefei's thoughts, but in Yefei's view, they seemed to be a hint. Your Majesty, did you find out what happened between me and Mr. Su? By reminding me like this, is she trying to discourage me from doing it again? But, Mr. Su clearly said that His Majesty has never been here. So, Your Majesty discovered the clue through some clues. Yefei looked at Yingkeoch in confusion, and suddenly felt a chill in her heart when she thought of this. Your Majesty is so powerful, I have never noticed it before. Your Majesty is really unfathomable. Shengjing, in the mansion. Tao Yaoyao was sitting under the pavilion, playing with a chess piece with both hands, but her eyes were dim, her eyes were blank, and her expression was dull. It was rare for the witch to feel depressed. At this moment, Qin Benjio walked slowly to Tao Yaoyao, sat down, and asked with concern, Sister Yaoyao, what's wrong with you? Turning to look at Qin Benjio, Tao Yaoyao pursed her pink lips and said unhappily, Sister Benjio, I may have to leave for something recently. Let's go then. Qin Benjio said nonchalantly, no matter what you do, just come back as soon as you're done. There's no need to be so down, right? However, my future is uncertain now that I'm leaving, and I really don't have any confidence. Big sister, I need someone to accompany me. Screaming in her heart, Tao Yaoyao was about to cry, and continued, Yaoyao's own safety is nothing, but the eldest sister treats Yaoyao very well on weekdays. After we say goodbye, Yaoyao is afraid that she will never be able to be with the eldest sister again. I have tried my best in front of Tou, my eldest sister, Tou, Yaoyao can't bear to leave you. After all the words were said, the tea smelled of tea and was full of green tea. It can only be said that Tao Yaoyao is worthy of being a witch. This pitiful green tea seller really makes people feel pity for her. But Qin Benjio seemed not to understand, thought for a moment, and said openly, this is easy to handle. When Sulang comes back, I will ask Sulang to accompany you. Although Sulang is not too strong, but among the younger generation, basically no one can beat him, and he can definitely keep you safe. Hearing this, Tao Yaoyao couldn't help but feel happy, but she quickly restrained her joy and thanked her. In that case, I'd like to thank you, eldest sister. It's just that in the next few days, eldest sister will not be able to see Yao Yao. Please don't miss me too much. It seemed that Tao Yaoyao was reluctant, but in fact, she was already smiling in her heart. Her original intention was to take Suliang away. Qin Benjao pushed her husband out, which was exactly what she wanted. But Tao Yaoyao didn't expect that this time. She thought Qin Benjao was on the first floor and she was on the second floor, but in fact, Qin Benjao was standing on the third floor. Looking at Tao Yaoyao's joyful smile with a hint of pride, Qin Benjao also showed an inexplicable smile. In fact, Qin Benjao, did it all on purpose. Since Tao Yaoyao wants to be accompanied by someone, she should take advantage of the situation and push her man out. Just in time, she can also use this to create opportunities for her man and Tao Yaoyao to complete the conquest. Qin Benjao never thought about the possibility that her husband would fail. After all, her husband had only followed her to Shengjing for a few days and had already conquered the queen mother and her cousin who was still a princess at the time. How could he not conquer a mere Tao Yaoyao? No one can resist the temptation of Lang Jun, well, no one. Seeing Tao Yaoyao leaving happily, Qin Benjao fell into deep thought. When my husband left with Tao Yaoyao, there were 2 of them. I wonder if there will be 3 when they come back. This question is worth thinking about. This wave is the fall of natural black. At the same time, just as Qin Benjao asked her husband to push him out, Suliang, who was far away from Yingkeoj, suddenly felt a chill and he couldn't help but tremble. Suliang rubbed his arms and looked around. Why do I feel like there are unruly people trying to harm me? Yingkeoj on the side blinked and asked curiously, does Mr. Lang want to be the emperor? My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 344. No, it's just a casual chat, don't mind. Suliang quickly shook his head and felt the coldness in his body dissipated, so he didn't pay much attention. Night. Yingkeoj curled up in Suliang's arms, her red cheeks seemed to be able to squeeze out water, her charming eyes were as silky as silk. She raised her head and kissed Suliang gently, her red lips opened slightly, and from time to time, she could hear unsuppressed sounds. Lang Jun I recently discovered that Yefei seems a little abnormal. She is always distracted, and occasionally she blushes and smiles crazily. Do you think she has a sweetheart? But then, Yingkeoj changed the subject, but, I haven't heard anything about Yefei having any close men. My guess is indeed a bit bold and a bit unreliable. Well, do you also know that your ideas are bold and unreliable? Suliang rolled his eyes, but paused and began to reflect carefully. From before, Yefei inexplicably took off her stockings in front of him and gave them to him, to before when she immediately became shy and arrogant after leaving his arms. There seems to be something wrong with this matter. Feeling that Suliang had stopped, Yingkeoj turned around and asked in a delicate and moving voice, Lang Jun, what's wrong with you? With that said, Yingkeoj moved back a little, so that he did not step into the cave. You think, is it possible that Yefei is greedy for your man? After thinking for a moment, Suliang asked. Mr. Lang, you must be thinking too much. Yingkeoj chuckled, held Suliang's cheek, kissed him gently on the lips, and then said charmingly, Mr. Lang, do you think you are some kind of panacea? Everyone likes you, everyone wants to take a bite. Mr. Lang, are you too pretty? Suliang raised his eyebrows and said, Girl, you dare to laugh at Mr. Lang. After that, he pulled away and covered himself with the quilt, Forget it, go to sleep, I'm tired. Seeing this, Yang Kaoj immediately understood that he had made his husband unhappy, so he quickly moved up to her husband and hugged his arm. My husband, you are the best, everyone likes you, don't be angry. Come and play, Lang Jun, come soon. As she spoke, Yang Kaoj's voice was as soft as water, and her eyes were as charming and agile as if they were holding two pools of spring water. Want to continue? Then do it yourself. Suliang groaned and lay flat on the bed, letting the quilt rise a lot for no reason. I'm tired, unhappy, worn out, and don't want to move anymore. Humph, Mr. Lang is bad. Seeing that Suliang was unmoved, Yang Kaoj could only hum softly, moved his hands all the way down, stirred for a moment, and then galloped the horse. There's nothing I can do about it, this feeling of just missing the mark is really too uncomfortable. Just when the situation in Great Xia was looking good, a devil traveled eastward, entered the realm of righteousness alone, and started killing a group of righteous arrogants who were out there trying to snatch the dragon mark. This is the real confrontation between good and evil. In a wilderness, Demon Zi stood among the corpses of the righteous and proud men, his energy slowly gathered back, and soon he became like an ordinary person. Suliang. Reciting the name softly, Motzi looked in the direction of Daxia and walked that way unhurriedly. For Motzi, Suliang is the main meal during this trip. These so-called righteous and proud people are not even considered desserts before meals. Really, too weak. Then, when Suliang still knew nothing about it, a crisis struck. Somewhere in the wilderness around Daxia, a group of righteous geniuses gathered here. However, almost all of the geniuses have blood on their bodies, and most of them have injuries that are deep enough to be seen in the bones and are difficult to heal. At this moment, the geniuses are gathered together, but the atmosphere is silent and depressing. Everyone has a frustrated and depressed expression on their face. No one can reluctant to speak. These geniuses have all encountered the devil before. However, they all united, but they were still defeated by Demon Zi alone. They suffered numerous casualties and were barely able to retreat. For those arrogant and conceited people who think they are invincible and that no one can look down on them, it is really frustrating to have countless people attack one person, only to be beaten back by counterattacks. As expected of a devil, this strength is truly astonishing. Tianjiao sighed and broke the silence. Everyone, let's think of a way. We can't let the demon devils wreak havoc in my righteous territory like this, right? Even if we can't kill the devil, we must at least fight him back. What can be done? Another proud man smiled bitterly. We are both talented, but we have lost so miserably. Can we really call on the elders of the sect to take action? Looking at the strength of that devil, I am afraid that even the elders may not be his opponents. All right. Furthermore, we are of the same generation as him. The senior leaders of the sect have never been able to participate in this kind of confrontation between peers. These words went straight to the crux of the problem, and in an instant, all the geniuses were silenced. The atmosphere at the scene returned to silence and depression again. But at this moment, Tianjiao looked as if he suddenly remembered something, and said loudly, just because we can't do it doesn't mean that others can't do it. I know one person who may be able to resolve this crisis. Who? Someone asked curiously. Suliang. There was some uncertainty in the man's words. I heard someone say that before they were trapped in the dragon cave, even the Holy Sun could not break the formation in the dragon cave, but Suliang was able to cut the sky with one sword, broke the formation and saved everyone. With such strength, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with a demon, right? After hearing this, the other person pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice, I have also heard of this person. It is said that his strength is very amazing. Whether the rumors are correct or not, in short, since we have a way, we should give it a try. I heard that Suliang is in Daxia. Tomorrow we will go to Daxia, visit Suliang and ask him to take action. The next day, a group of geniuses found Suliang and said they were coming to visit him, but they always felt like they were trying to force him into the palace. I'll ask Brother Su to take action to defeat that arrogant devil and bring peace to my righteous path. One day, Guoli stood in front of Suliang and said it was a petition, but he was so proud and arrogant. How could he have the slightest intention of petitioning? Why should I take action? Suliang couldn't help but rolled his eyes and asked. Just kidding, if you can't defeat it yourself, just ask me to take action. But since you are asking for help, you should act like you are asking for help. I don't ask you to prepare generous gifts, but you should still be polite. Why don't you take action? Volume 1 Chapter 323, Best Friend witnessed the Empress being bullied. Another Tianjiao took a step forward and stared at Suliang with burning eyes. The fight between good and evil is related to my fate of good and evil. That devil entered the right path alone and killed countless people. This is depriving me of my right path luck. As a righteous person, you and we both prosper and suffer, so why shouldn't you take action? If you don't take action, it will be tantamount to betraying the right path. Furthermore, even if it's not due to luck, the demon thief kills innocent people indiscriminately and takes human life lightly. His methods are cruel and cold-blooded, and everyone will kill him. Shouldn't you take action to restore the right path? Humph, Suliang, since you have this ability, it's natural for you to take action. Otherwise, what's the use of your cultivation? It's fine if you don't take action in advance, and now you are asking us why we took action. Are you that unfaithful, unfilial, benevolent, and unjust person? Listening to this man's words, Suliang was completely stunned. What the hell? I just asked why I wanted to take action. You have so much to say waiting for me. Why are you still using moral kidnapping? Isn't your method of asking someone to take action a little too inappropriate? Humph, you dare to use righteousness and justice to force me to take action, and you want to use righteousness to coerce me? What a beautiful thought. Let me tell you, as long as I have no morals, you can't kidnap me. Ahem, I still have morals, but why should I let you kidnap me morally? I'm afraid you don't know why the flowers are so red. Suliang ignored the moral kidnappings of the geniuses and slowly stood up with a calm expression. Before asking for help, you must first know how to behave. If you don't know how to behave, I can teach you. The words have fallen. Suliang suddenly took action, pressing down with one hand, and the coercive real energy of the immortal realm appeared at the same time, descending from the top, and instantly oppressed the geniuses. Crack! Caught off guard, the legs of the geniuses weakened, and they were immediately forced to their knees by the abyss-like pressure and terrifying power. Even the stone bricks on the ground were broken. At this moment, the righteous geniuses all kneel down. You must understand that it is you who came to ask me to take action. Suliang's expression was calm and indifferent. When you ask for help, you have to look like you are asking for help. You should know how to kneel down, right? Suliang, you. There was also Tianjiao who wanted to scold him, but as soon as he spoke, the force pressing on him suddenly increased several times, almost making him fall to the ground. See this. All the geniuses were silent and did not dare to say another word. Let me ask one more question. Suliang's voice remained calm. Why did you come to me? After hearing this, the geniuses struggled for a long time before finally lowering their heads and saying in unison, we will kneel down and beg Brother Su to take action and kill the evil demon. In fact, in their eyes, Suliang, who was born in the Tiandao sect, was just a country bumpkin sect. But this person from a country bumpkin clan is an out-and-out boss. Facing this big boss, all the geniuses had to bow their heads, and they dare not bow their heads. Well, I'll think about it, you go. Suliang waved his hand, turned and left. In the room, Ying Kaoj nestled in Suliang's arms, A little worried, Lang Jun, are you really going to make an enemy of that devil? However, that devil defeated many geniuses by himself, and his strength is unfathomable. If you, Lang Jun, were injured by his hand, what would you do? People will feel bad. Don't be afraid, it's just a devil, nothing like that. Suliang smiled and stroked Yang Kaoj's little head, looking calm. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 345. Suliang was not conceited, he was indeed confident. There are saints in the righteous path, and demon sons in the demonic path. They each represent the strongest group of the younger generation of the righteous path and the demonic path. He has already seen the Holy Sun, and he has said that he is indeed powerful, but not something to be afraid of. Even if the devil is powerful, he can't be too much beyond the saint, right? And Suliang can also do things like one person fighting against a group of geniuses. It's not something too outrageous, it's just suppression by pure realm strength. Didn't he make all the geniuses kneel down today? As long as you have confidence, Mr. Lang. Seeing Suliang's calm and confident look, Yang Kaoj felt relieved. Immediately, Yang Kaoj rolled his eyes with a naughty smile on his face. Suddenly sitting up from Suliang, Yang Kaoj patted his beautiful black stocking legs and said playfully, "The war is coming, why don't you make some preparations before the war? For example, I can give him a pillow for his knees so that he can have a good rest." Looking at the naughty look of Yang Kaoj sticking out his little tongue, Suliang chuckled helplessly, "You girl, are you helping me, or are you sacrificing my energy?" "Humph, okay. You're sacrificing my husband's strength before the battle. Are you expecting me to lose? Don't run away, let's see how I teach you a lesson." After saying that, before Yang Kaoj could escape, Suliang stretched out his hand and scooped Yang Kaoj up into his arms. Then, he pressed it on his leg and hit Yang Kaoj's small and upright body with his palm. "Pa! Humph, let's see if you dare to be naughty again." "Ah!" Yang Kaoj screamed in surprise, but he refused to admit defeat and kept shouting, "Just take it easy, I'll be happy if I take it." "Huh? You still dare to be harsh?" Suliang glared at her, and then slapped her again. "Pa! Returning your skin? It seems that my education is not strong enough." That's enough, please spare your life, Mr. Lang." Yang Kaoj fluttered her slender legs and began to softly beg for mercy. Late. Suliang directly put Yang Kaoj on the bed, opened the gorgeous dragon robe, and then pulled out, rounded, whipped in, up and down 7 times, mastering this. "Humph, do you think this loss can affect my strength?" Suliang said proudly, "Hey, witch, look at the sword." "Well, Lang Jun, I know I was wrong." Yang Kaoj whimpered and begged for mercy, and the sound of snapping filled the air with a special atmosphere. At the same time, Yefei was hiding behind the door, peeking. Certainly. What she peeked at was limited to the part before Suliang's penis penetrated. However, even this part of the content is enough to open Yefei's eyes. Seeing that His Majesty, who is usually aloof and full of majesty, was beaten until he softly begged for mercy. This contrast is simply eye-popping, isn't it? It's really, so exciting. Rubbing her fingers unconsciously, Yefei felt a little itchy. After waiting for a long time, the devil finally arrives. Dong, dong. The sound of dull footsteps sounded. The footsteps were slow and not urgent. They didn't use much effort, but they were the dull thoughts in everyone's ears. It made people almost breathless and felt that their heartbeats were speeding up. Volume 1 # Chapter 324 The melodious music of the piano kills the devil, and the emperor complained, "You hooked up with another one." But just as everyone was thinking this, they were shocked to find that their own heartbeats had gradually started to match the footsteps. It was dull and slow, and every time it beat, it seemed like there was a huge pressure pulling on it. Next moment. Boom. A majestic sense of oppression came, carrying boundless murderous intent and bloody aura, suppressing everyone, making everyone feel as if the sky was falling and the earth was falling. They seemed to be trapped in a boundless sea of blood, and even the air became much thicker. You have to take a big breath to breathe smoothly. However, this majestic mountain-like pressure made them dare not breathe, their bodies became weak, and they almost fell to the ground. Under the solemn gazes of everyone, a cold figure slowly walked towards them. Wow! In an instant, the geniuses around Motzi retreated, not even daring to get close. They all looked at Motzi, who was walking towards Suliang with frightened eyes, trembling as if they were walking on thin ice. At this moment, as long as they don't run away, it can prove their perseverance. But among all the geniuses, only Suliang was calm and unbroken. A gorgeous guqin was placed in front of Yingqiao. His plain hands were stroking the strings, and the sound was soothing and beautiful, making people intoxicated. Beside Yingqiao, Suliang was lying on the rocking chair, squinting his eyes slightly, enjoying Yefei's soft little hands beating his legs lightly or hard, while tapping his fingers gently on his legs, beating the beat, and echoing the music seems very leisurely. And the moment when Motzi came to Suliang, Suliang suddenly opened his eyes, stood up slowly, and calmly looked at the devil in front of him. Are you here? I am coming. Motzi spoke for the first time, but his voice was as cold as a blade, without any warmth. You shouldn't have come. Suliang put his hands behind his back and looked up at the sky, looking like a master from this world, but what he said shocked everyone onlookers. Next moment, Suliang seemed to have reacted and coughed lightly. Ahem, it's just a joke, don't worry about it. Say it. Suliang stretched out a hand and said, since we are here, let's have a fight first before talking about it. The words fell. The sound of Yingqiao's piano paused, and suddenly became rapid and exciting. And as the exciting sound of the piano sounded, the hearts of the surrounding geniuses all tightened. They knew that the real battle of geniuses was about to begin. Next moment, amid the melodious sound of the piano, a war suddenly breaks out. Motzi suddenly took action and punched Suliang. Turning sideways to avoid the fist, Suliang put his fingers together like sword fingers. Instead of releasing a majestic sword energy, he pulled Mozi's arm, quickly approached him, and then pointed out. The majestic sword energy disappeared in a flash, and Motzi quickly blocked it, but was still a step too late. He could only watch as the sword energy hit him and sent him flying away. Ren was flying upside down in the air, but before he hit the ground, Mozi forcibly stopped his retreat and stepped forward again, with a strike as fast as lightning. Suliang naturally never underestimated Motzi, and he also struck like lightning. In just a short moment, the two of them exchanged dozens of moves. It can pass in an instant. Base. A flash of sword light flashed, and Suliang pointed at Motzi's heart, sending Motzi flying away and falling to the ground. He was seriously injured. In just a moment, the two of them had already decided the winner. Seeing this scene, all the geniuses were stunned. What a joke! The whole group of them fought tooth and nail, but they couldn't get close. In the end, they were killed and lost their helmets and armors. The devil who fled was actually crushed by Suliang? This battle situation was so unexpected that it caused all the proud men to fall deeply into self-doubt. Is he too useless, or is Suliang too strong? As a proud man, he is a proud son of a section. There are few rivals in the sect, how can he be a waste? So, if you calculate it this way, how powerful is Suliang? After swallowing subconsciously, the talented people looked at Suliang with a hint of fear and awe in their eyes. However, at this time, Suliang frowned. You are not a human being. Suliang looked at Motzi and said slowly but firmly. After a fight, he already realized that the other party was not a human. It's not that he's not a human being in the literal sense, but, the demon in front of him doesn't seem to be here in person. As soon as these words came out, all the geniuses were dumbfounded. Brother Su, you are indeed very powerful. You beat the demons so hard that they couldn't hold their heads up. What was originally a top battle turned into a crushing match, but you can't insult anyone. You have already won. Besides, is it a little too much to say that they are not human? But I didn't expect it. Mako slowly said, it can be seen that you are indeed qualified to get the ticket. Ticket? Suliang grasped the key point and asked immediately. What's standing here is just a demonic clone of me. My true body is still in seclusion. This battle will serve as my ticket after I leave seclusion. If I can defeat this clone, Suliang is already qualified to enter my eyes. After thinking about it carefully, Suliang immediately understood what Mozi meant. Being able to defeat his clone proves that I am worthy of being his enemy and qualified to fight with him after he comes out of seclusion? With a raised brow, Suliang discovered that this so-called devil, not to mention his strength, had a rather unruly character. And at the same time, Suliang wasn't the only one the devil's clone came after. Among the two paths of good and evil, those who are famous and powerful are all selected by the devil and challenged by their avatars. Some people, either for fame or lack of strength, lost their lives under Demon Sun. Only a few people with advanced cultivation and strong strength passed the Demon Sun's test and obtained this so-called admission ticket. The two paths of good and evil add up to a total of 9 candidates. On the snowy mountain, a stunningly beautiful royal sister, with long flowing hair and a cold face. Her clothes and mantle were fluttering, and her ethereal aura was like a goddess coming to the world. At this moment, there was also a demon clone in front of Sister Yu. You are already qualified to enter my eyes. Mozi said coldly as if facing Suliang. But the words just fell. Base. A sword light shot out and chopped the clone into pieces. Noisy. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 346. The cold and ethereal voice of the goddess sister rang out in the snowy mountains. The Devil's Path, in a devil's cave. A stunningly beautiful and enchanting royal sister was standing in front of the demon clone. Sister Yu's hair is messy, she is tall and slender, her lips are blood red, she is wearing a scarlet dress, and her whole body is filled with the smell of blood. Is the devil coming to challenge the slave family? The scarlet royal sister giggled, but leaned forward, stroking the cold cheek of the devil with her long and blood-red fingernails. Then, the slave family is waiting here, waiting for the great arrival of the devil. Mako, please don't fail to come. As soon as he finished speaking, his nails suddenly used force and pierced the clone. Picking up a wisp of escaped demonic energy with her fingernails, she put it into her mouth and tasted it carefully for a moment. A sickly smile appeared on Sister Scarlet's face. I wonder if demon's blood is more mellow and delicious. I really want to give it a try. Not only the previous ones, but also the Taoist Saint Sun actually received invitations to fight. With one punch, the demon child's clone was shattered. The saint child wiped away the scattered demonic energy in disgust and began to think in his heart. Mako actually sent a clone to challenge him to a fight. It seemed that he couldn't escape this time. It's okay, a fight is not bad, just in time. It can also let the world see who is the most powerful genius between the Taoist saint and the demonic sun. But right now, a maid walked in quickly and came to the Holy Sun with an anxious expression, reporting to the Holy Sun. Many people suddenly came outside, claiming to be the genius of each sect, and they are coming to complain. Complain. The Holy Son was stunned for a moment, with some doubts in his heart. You must have made a mistake. They are all geniuses of each section. If anything happens, why don't you just tell the sect leaders directly? Why should you file a complaint with me? I am indeed the Holy Son, but I can't manage the entire righteous genius, right? But having said that, after thinking for a moment, the Holy Son still said, let them come in. Then, a moment later, geniuses from all sects poured into the room like a tide, blocking the room completely. Please ask the Holy Son to make the decision for us. Tianjiao said respectfully, so that the Holy Son will know that the evil thief Sul Yang, relying on his advanced cultivation, is unscrupulous, but he bullied me severely. Another person also shouted, Holy Son Mingjian, Sul Yang's indiscriminate attacks not only defeated us and suppressed us, but also took away our dragon mark. He almost killed us in Daxia. Such a thief is really it's too arrogant and excessive. But in fact, what they said was all the genius of Sul Yang, who helped Yang Kaoj to sweep up Kaoj and suppress the fighting in the downtown area. Listening to the words of the geniuses, the Holy Son, who had always been decisive, became indecisive for the first time. After hesitating for a moment, the Holy Son asked, are you mistaken? Are you sure that it was Sul Yang who attacked you out of nowhere? Something's wrong. Although Sul Yang and I don't have a very good relationship, we have fought together several times and spent some time together, so I understand him well. Sul Yang has always been upright, confident, and strong, but also gentle and kind. Such a character is really rare. How could he do such a thing? He simply cannot be that kind of person. But then, another wave of people crowded in, squeezing away the geniuses who had come before, crying, please ask the Holy Son to make the decision for us. That fellow Sul Yang not only does not contribute to the right path, but also, and he is also suspected of being associated with the devil. Although such a thief has a high level of cultivation, he is already a scum of my righteous path. Please ask the Holy Son to take action and eradicate this cancer. Listening to the cries of these people, the Holy Son was shocked and called out in his heart, what a good guy. What on earth did Sul Yang commit? How dare he make so many sects go to war? Is this already causing public outrage? Shut up, everyone. The Holy Son suddenly spoke up and stopped everyone. Immediately. After thinking for a while, the Holy Son called the maid and said, go quickly and investigate what Tiandao sect Sul Yang has done recently. Yes. The maid nodded in agreement and turned to leave, but soon turned back with a stack of memorial-like things in her hands. Reporting to the Holy Son, Sul Yang of the Tiandao sect is already a top figure among the geniuses. Someone in the sect has already investigated it and recorded it in a book. Please ask the Holy Son to check it. The Holy Son nodded, opened the book, and read it carefully bit by bit. After a while, the Holy Son suddenly closed the book and was furious. Humph, you have done something wrong. Instead of reflecting on it, you actually dared to bite me back. How brave you are. As cultivators of immortality, you are also righteous figures, proud sons of various sects, and your actions must naturally focus on upholding the righteous path. How can you disturb the order of the secular dynasty? You actually dare to fight in a busy city. Do you know how many people your fight will affect? How many people will have their families destroyed because of your fight? In my opinion, Sul Yang taught you well. If I were here, you would not be able to escape death. As soon as these words came out, all the geniuses fell silent, no one dared to speak. In their hearts, they naturally did not feel that they were at fault, but since the Holy Son was furious, they would just go along with what the Holy Son wanted. Otherwise, if they offended the Holy Son, the consequences would be unpredictable. At this moment, someone whispered, then we should let Sul Yang return the dragon mark to us. He can't bear those dragon marks by himself, and they all went into the hands of the eldest sister beside him. Big sister. Hearing this, the Holy Son raised his brows, thought for a moment, and then thought about it. The Empress of Great Xia wins Kaoj. I heard that she was a very beautiful and powerful woman. Humph, you Sul Yang, you don't know anything about Qing Qian, so you just looked at my body, and now you are actually hooking up with the Empress of Great Xia. Playboy, scumbag. As he thought with amusement in his heart, the Holy Son's face became a little heavy. Anyway, since you, Sul Yang, have become a philandering scumbag, don't blame this Holy Son for punishing you. Just wait, Sul Yang. When this Holy Son recovers his strength, I will go to Daxia in person to teach you a lesson. After suppressing all the geniuses and dealing with the demons, Sul Yang and Ying Kaoj returned directly to Shengjing. In the mansion, seeing Sul Yang enter the door, Qin Benjiao's beautiful face immediately showed a hint of joy. Sulang. With a happy cry, Qin Benjiao ran over with small steps, plunged into Sul Yang's arms, hugged Sul Yang tightly. Her slender legs were sandwiched around Sul Yang's waist, and her soft little face rubbed against Sul Yang's face. Go ahead, very enthusiastic. Well, Sulang smells happy. Well, don't move, Sulang. I haven't seen you for a few days. I need to replenish my husband's nutrition. There is plenty of time in the evening, why rush this moment? Sulyang shook his head and laughed. He leaned close to her ear and whispered, go directly to the stomach in one step. Wouldn't it be better to be good at this? Hearing this, Qin Benjiao's pretty face turned slightly red, but her eyes were filled with anticipation like spring water. We'll talk about tonight's business later in the evening. Now, let's collect some interest first. Qin Benjiao said softly. Although she slipped off her man, she still hugged her man and followed her man. She transformed into a clingy girl on the spot and never left her side. At this moment, Mu Qingqian came out of the room and saw a hint of surprise and excitement in her eyes after seeing Sul Yang. Walking forward quickly, Mu Qingqian lowered her head slightly, her pretty face slightly red, shy but with a little joy. Volume 1 # Chapter 325, Concubine's Professional Conduct. Senior Brother Su is back. Has Senior Brother Su worked hard these days? It's just a little thing, nothing to worry about. Sulyang said with a smile, on the way, I encountered some interesting things, and there are also some things related to the devil. If Senior Brother Su wants to know, Senior Brother will tell you later. Good. Mu Qingqian nodded, his eyes sparkling with joy and anticipation. At this moment, boom! The door not far away suddenly opened. Immediately afterwards, Tao Yao rushed out of the door and went straight to Sul Yang. She opened her arms and embraced her. Brother Sul Yang, you are finally back. Yao misses you so much. Brother Sul Yang, you are finally back. Tao Yao stopped in front of Sul Yang, standing there pretty, her eyes full of spring, her pretty face slightly red, her eyes sparkling like a girl pregnant with spring, her pink lips raised a smile like the spring breeze. Sul Yang brother, during the past few days when you were away, I missed you very, very, very much, I think so. As she spoke, Tao Yao drew big circles with her hands in front of her body, trying to prove how much she missed Sul Yang. Yeah, I miss you too. Sul Yang was indeed vague and perfunctory. He only felt that the small hands on his arms tightened, so he was unwilling to talk to Tao Yao anymore. But then, Tao Yao rushed forward, pulled Sul Yang's clothes and said coquettishly. Brother Sul Yang, look, everyone misses you so much. Can you give me a hug? Say it. Without waiting for Sul Yang to respond, Tao Yao took a step forward, spread her arms, and wanted to hug Sul Yang. But right now, Qin Benjiao directly let go of Sul Yang, stepped forward, stood beside Tao Yao, lifted her up by the collar behind her head, is Sister Yao because Sulang came back. I'm so happy that I'm dizzy, but I'm still here, and Sister Yao Yao wants to cross the line. Hearing this, Tao Yao Yao was caught in the air and fluttered with her legs and hands a few times. After struggling for a while, she found that it was of no use, so she had to look at Qin Binjao pleadingly, "Sister, I just miss brother Sul Yang." As soon as she finished speaking, Tao Yao Yao watched Qin Binjao's eyes become dangerous, and that harmless smile appeared on her face again. Good guys, the smiling tyrant is back on the spot. Tao Yao Yao was so frightened that she trembled, and without even thinking, she immediately shouted, "Sister, please forgive me, I don't think about it anymore, I don't think about anything anymore." In the room, Qin Wan asked Wan Qing behind her, with a soft smile on her face, soft and gentle movements, a slender and gentle voice, and a gentle look. At this moment, she was holding Wan Qing's shoulders with her hands, serving Wan Qing with all her heart. "Why is it so noisy outside?" Wan Qing suddenly opened her eyes and asked. After listening carefully, Qin Wanyu showed an expectant and delighted smile on her face. "What makes Benjao so happy to welcome her?" "I think it's my husband who is back." Wan Qing nodded without comment, but after a moment, she raised her head and looked at Qin Wanyu. "Since you also want to see him, why don't you just leave directly? Why do you have to work so hard to serve me here?" Sister Wan Qing is joking. "My husband is indeed important, and I really want to see her husband. But now I am with Sister Wan Qing. How can I leave without permission and leave Sister Wan Qing alone?" Qin Wanyu's voice became gentler and softer. "For me, my husband is the most important thing, and as my husband's teacher, Sister Wan Qing is also the one who dotes on me the most, understands me best, and is also the person I respect." "Yes, not bad." Wan Qing nodded with satisfaction, obviously very satisfied with Qin Wanyu's compliment. "See this?" A proud smile appeared on Qin Wanyu's face. Look, this is my concubine's integrity and consciousness. They are both concubines, but compared to Ying Kaoj, Qin Wanyu is more intellectual. Ying Kaoj is busy with court affairs all day long, but Qin Wanyu has fully established a good relationship with everyone. After serving for a while, Qin Wanyu came to Wan Qing, bowed and said respectfully, "Sister Wan Qing, have a good rest, and I have gone back to rest. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator." Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 347. Good. Wan Qing nodded and did not force Qin Wanyu to stay. But after Qin Wanyu returned to her room, a figure suddenly appeared. It was Qin Wanyu's boss and best friend, Dong Jun. "You just went to serve your sisters again." Seeing Qin Wanyu's slightly tired look, Dong Jun immediately became angry and felt quite unsatisfied with his best friend's so-called self-consciousness and ethics. "You, Wanyu, what do you want me to say about you? You are also the queen mother of a country now, and you are also one of the important disciples of my Yin-Yang Dao section with such a status. Why do you put down your status and cater to others? You used to be so proud, and you easily manipulated men into applause. But now, for the sake of a man, you actually grovel and serve others. Qin Wanyu, why have you fallen like this? You do not understand." Qin Wanyu turned a deaf ear to her best friend's grievances. She just shook her head and chuckled, "Dong Jun, you have never been tempted, so naturally you don't know what it feels like. I am not even afraid of dying for the one I love, let alone just serving. What's more, those sisters are far superior to me in terms of status, cultivation, strength, knowledge, and city. They were also by my husband's side earlier than me. I believe that except for my love for my husband, I have nothing to compare with. They compare, why can't I serve them?" As she spoke, Qin Wanyu turned to look at Dong Jun, with a gentle smile on her face, and her eyes shone with the light of happiness. "Dong Jun, you don't understand these things now, but after you fall in love, you will all understood." Puff. Dong Jun almost spit out a mouthful of blood after listening to Qin Wanyu's words. He had good intentions to fight against the injustice for her, but she was actually kind enough to ridicule him like this. How on earth did you do this kind of cruel behavior of single people, Qin Wanyu? If I, Dong Jun, worry about you again, I will be a dog, okay. Cursing inwardly, Dong Jun immediately cut off the remote contact. She felt that if she continued to talk to Qin Wanyu, she would be mad at her. In the evening, dinner at the Su family once again became a banquet. People living in Suliang and Qin Binjiao's mansion, including Jing Meng, Mu Qingqian, and Tao Yao Yao, all came to the banquet. Everyone gathered to celebrate Suliang and Ying Chao. The song returns victorious. After eating something, Qin Binjiao stood up and said happily, "Everyone, if we just eat, this party will be too dull. Why don't we put on a show?" Volume 1 Chapter 326, Everyone Gets the Stolen Goods. What do you have to say about stealing? Okay. Tan Kinja was the first to respond to Qin Binjiao's words, but she had no intention of getting up and performing. It was obvious that she was going to participate in the show for free. At the same time, Wan Qing was also nodding aside, thinking Qin Binjiao's suggestion was very good. Looking around, seeing no one taking the initiative to perform, Qin Wanyu stood up and said, "Why don't you let me do the first performance? It just so happens that I recently developed a new dance, which I haven't shown yet. Today, I'm going to show it to a few of my sisters and my husband so that you can give me some opinions. How about it?" "Good." Wan Qing and Tan Kinja nodded in encouragement. Then, Qin Wanyu, who was encouraged by her two sisters, confidently came to the open space in front of everyone and danced gracefully. Qin Wanyu didn't change her clothes, just dressed in the lavender clothes she usually wore, and started dancing gracefully. Her dancing posture is as graceful as a startling dragon, the wind blows back to the snow, every smile and every move is filled with boundless tenderness. Beautiful people are intoxicated, thrilling, and heart-beating. Especially the beauty's smile makes people feel like their bones are brittle, and they want to take out their whole body and give it to Qin Wanyu. Looking at Qin Wanyu's graceful dance, Wan Qing showed a smile on her face and said softly, "Wanyu is pretty good. This dance already has some charm." After hearing this, Suliang asked curiously, "Master, do you mean that graceful dance is truly unique in the world? It's not like being the only one in the world, but it's still great." Wan Qing leaned on the back of her chair and said while enjoying Qin Wanyu's dance, "Those who are cultivating immortals like you and me, are cultivating the Tao. The so-called Tao is like misty clouds, but there are traces to follow, so, some people use swords to enter the Tao, some use knives to enter the Tao, and some people use dancing to enter the Tao, just like the master of the secret realm that Qingya went to before. And now, Wanyu's dancing posture actually has a hint of Taoist charm. In other words, Wanyu is now qualified to dance to Taoism." Hearing this, Suliang turned to look at Qin Wanyu, feeling a little surprised. He had never noticed that his own queen mother actually had such a talent. It was not easy for ordinary people to touch the threshold of the Tao. She was able to dance into the Tao. This talent was already incredible. After the dance, it was time for everyone in the Su family to eat and drink, and several people performed performances one after another. Especially Tan Kinja's dance, which had the bonus of a charming body, as well as the gains from the previous secret realm. She is more charming than Qin Wanyu. When the table full of delicacies was about to be finished, Wan Qing put down the chopsticks in her hands and looked at everyone joking with a look of unfulfilled interest. She suddenly laughed out loud and suggested, "Today is a good day. My good disciple has returned victorious with Chao Ji. It's rare that all my family members are here, why don't we just have a drink?" After hearing the master's shady suggestion, Suliang immediately shook his head, "I think it's unnecessary. After finishing his words, Suliang's mouth twitched in the face of the puzzled looks of the girls, as if he was recalling the painful experience. If you get drunk, I'm afraid you will go crazy with alcohol. I alone can't hold you back. Oh, Suliang, we can't do that. Qin Benjao immediately raised her hand and said, don't worry, we will only drink a little bit, not too much, and even if we get drunk, we will be very honest. No. Suliang immediately refused and said, I don't believe you, you are a scumbag, I can't believe it anymore, okay. Alas, where did my innocent, cute, and ignorant girlfriend go? If you don't believe Benjao's words, you should believe my master's words, right? Wan Qing faced Suliang, with an inexplicable smile on her lips. Don't worry, good disciple, if you have a master watching over you, what could happen? We will definitely be honest. This. Suliang hesitated for a moment, then finally sighed and nodded, okay. My master has already spoken, what else can I do? Of course I agreed. But. Soon, Suliang saw what a woman's words and deceptive mouth were. In just a moment, after drinking several jars of mellow wine, Ying Kaoch, Tan Kinja, Wan Qing, and even Master Jingmeng and Tao Yaoyao were a little confused. Suliang. Qin Benjao hugged Suliang and rubbed her tender little face against Suliang's face. I love you so much. I love you too, I love you too. Suliang said perfunctorily, feeling speechless in his heart. We just promised that you would be very honest. Why did everyone start to act up so quickly? It's simply outrageous. At this time, Mu Qingqian came up again, pushed Qin Benjao away, and hugged Suliang tightly. Senior brother Su, he, senior brother Su. Muttering to himself, Mu Qingqian's cheeks were flushed, his eyes were dimmed with drunkenness, but there was a cute smile on his face. His little face rubbed against Suliang's body. Senior brother Su, my, he. Mu Qingqian, let go of my man. Qin Benjao immediately became angry. The depraved black-bellied man did often push his men out, but that didn't mean that he could just watch his men being taken advantage of by others in front of her. Then. Qin Benjao immediately stepped forward, pulled Mu Qingqian, and tried to drag her away. However, Mu Qingqian hugged Suliang tightly and refused to let go, shaking her little head rapidly. No, I don't want to leave my senior brother Su. Hearing this, Qin Benjao became even more angry. But at this time, after listening to Mu Qingqian's words and looking at Mu Qingqian's appearance, the girls suddenly became interested in visitors, and they all gathered around and started teasing Mu Qingqian. Qingqian, do you also want to be my sister-in-law? Tan Kinja asked quietly, making a gesture of whispering, but her voice was loud enough for anyone to hear. I can't be sorry to Benjao. Mu Qingqian said in a daze, but hugged Suliang tighter. Qin Wanyu answered at this time and said, oh, there's nothing we can do about it. My husband is our man. If you were not his wife, you wouldn't be able to be so close to him. Let go, we are still here. I want to hug my husband. No, I don't want it, senior brother Su is mine. Mu Qingqian shouted in a daze and refused to let go. See this. Tan Kinja and others looked at each other and smiled, then they all started to pull Mu Qingqian, shouting, oh, Qingqian, since you have denied your relationship with Lang Jun, then don't be so close to Lang Jun. Well, you are not qualified. But Mu Qingqian refused to let go, but how could she alone be able to withstand the power of the girls? Soon, she was about to be defeated. She could only look to the side and ask for help from her master. Master, help me quickly. But before he finished speaking, he saw his master being drunk by his best friend. He was so drunk that he couldn't even speak clearly. After some fighting, everyone sobered up a lot, so they quickly dispersed and went back to their respective rooms to prepare for bed. but Qin Benjao followed Suliang all the way to Suliang. Sulang Sulang, I came to sleep with you. Qin Benjao hugged the pillow, pushed open the door to the room, walked in openly, threw the pillow on the bed, and then climbed onto her husband's bed openly. Immediately, Qin Benjao covered her with the quilt and lay next to her man. She hugged her man tightly with her long arms and her little head nestled on him. She blinked her bright and beautiful eyes and asked curiously, Sulang, this is the time when you and Sister Ying went out time, what have you experienced? It's a long story. Suliang chuckled lightly, hugged his girlfriend's soft and delicate body, separated his hands, and threw the thin silk pants out of the bed with a few rustlings. Qin Benjao only felt a wave of coolness coming from bottom to top. With a slight movement, Qin Benjao felt like an electric shock, numbing her bones. Sulang. Qin Benjao's voice immediately became charming. She subconsciously held her man's arm and squeezed her slender legs tightly together, but she could not stop the man's exploration. Humph, Mr. Lang is bad. Qin Benjao became angry. I don't even tell stories well, so I just know how to make fun of others. If so, don't I have to explain it carefully? Suliang moved closer to his girlfriend and moved his other hand up. Well. Qin Benjao groaned, and her soft and delicate body, as smooth as jade, began to tremble slightly. His eyes were hazy as if drunk, full of affection. Tan's mouth opened slightly, and while breathing, Qin Benjao looked at her boyfriend, and her smooth little face came close to him. Why are you so anxious, madam? Suliang, on the other hand, moved further away and kept moving his hands. I haven't told my wife about my experience yet. Humph, Mr. Lang is not honest at all. Qin Benjao scolded, but she had no intention of blaming her man. Instead, she stretched out her slender hands, with one center in one hand and two key points in the other, and began to move skillfully. Hiss. Suliang immediately took a breath of air. My girlfriend's little hands are soft, as smooth and delicate as jade, it's really hard to bear. Come on, let's hurt each other. Qin Benjao glanced at her man proudly, not realizing that she was getting angry. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 348. And just when these two people were having fun. Boom. The door was suddenly opened, and immediately after, a beautiful figure wandered in. Her steps were a little unsteady, as if she was about to fall down at any moment. This beautiful figure is none other than Tan Kinja. Stepping into the room, turning around and closing the door, Tan Kinja opened her hazy eyes and turned to look in the direction of Suliang, with an extremely charming smile on her face. Liang, sister is here to see you, ah. Before she could finish her words, Tan Kinja screamed in surprise and immediately froze in place when she saw the two people on the bed who were in full swing. It seemed that she had never thought that there would be someone else in her man's bed. After a while, Tan Kinja finally came back to her senses. She wiped her eyes and looked carefully at the bed, finally seeing clearly the other owner with a fair, soft, and delicate body. He is his own traitor. You traitor, you actually dare to secretly come to Liang behind your master's back. Do you know that you are cheating? Fortunately, the teacher caught you two in bed, otherwise, the teacher would have been kept in the dark about this matter. Snort. Tan Kinja snorted softly and pointed at the two people on the bed with her slender finger. Okay, you two are like this again. You traitor, you little brother with no conscience, you usually eat secretly, but you don't dare to admit it in front of me, but this time I discovered it, huh, let's see how you can still quibble. You two, what else can you say? Sister, listen to my quibbles, listen to my explanation. Suliang said quickly, while blocking his girlfriend behind him to protect her. There is no other way. Although logically speaking, his girlfriend on the bed now is his real wife, and there is nothing wrong with him and his girlfriend. Even if he is caught by his sister, the most he can do is throw his girlfriend away and let the two of them make trouble. But it's different now. My sister, but she still has her head raised, God knows what she can do. If I throw out my girlfriend again, I am afraid that my girlfriend will be expelled from the school on the spot. All in all, it's better to stabilize your sister first. However, before Suliang could think of what to say, Qin Binjao wrapped herself in a quilt, put her hands on her hips, and said confidently, "Huh, master, you are too lenient. Isn't it wrong for me to have sex with my boyfriend?" Hearing this, Suliang was almost frightened to death. "My wife, please be careful. Haven't you noticed that something is wrong with your master's condition? If we don't get it right, both of us will be miserable tonight, okay?" Looking back at his girlfriend's confident appearance, Suliang sighed and began to admire his girlfriend's courage. Immediately, Suliang turned his head and looked at his sister. Seeing that his sister's face was a little gloomy and she was about to have a seizure, Suliang jumped up and easily subdued her. Immediately afterwards, Suliang leaned forward and kissed her, instantly destroying all of his sister's sanity. "No matter what, let's stabilize our queen sister first. You can't really watch your girlfriend being dealt with, right? And let's talk about it. It's really exciting for the two masters and apprentices to work together." Early next morning, the only beautiful figure in the bed was the cute fairy. Lying in bed, Tan Kinja's figure disappeared without a trace. As soon as Suliang walked out of the room, he saw his sister sitting in the pavilion in the courtyard, looking unhappy. "Because I was taught a lesson last night? It seems impossible." Walking over slowly, Suliang sat next to his sister and asked with concern, "Who is so bold and dares to provoke my sister and make her so unhappy? If sister is willing, you can tell me and I will help her teach them a lesson." "Don't worry, Ailiang, no one dares to provoke me." Tan Kinja forced a smile, then rubbed her brows and handed the letter in her hand to Suliang. "Here, read it yourself." Suliang took the letter, glanced at it, frowned slightly. "Is this a letter from my sister's family?" "Yes, it's a family letter." Volume 1 Chapter 327 The beautiful woman's worries, the fairy bursts into tears. As soon as Suliang walked out of the room, he saw his sister sitting in the pavilion in the courtyard, looking unhappy. Walking over slowly, Suliang sat next to his sister and asked with concern, "Who is so bold and dares to provoke my sister and make her so unhappy? If sister is willing, you can tell me and I will help her teach them a lesson." "Don't worry, Ailiang, no one dares to provoke me." Tan Kinja forced a smile, then rubbed her brows and handed the letter in her hand to Suliang. "Here, read it yourself." Suliang took the letter, glanced at it, frowned slightly. "Is this a letter from my sister's family?" "Yes, it's a family letter." Tan Kinja nodded. "Those people in the family actually want me to go back to attend the annual meeting in the future." "Gee, that's really strange. What's wrong with this?" Suliang asked in confusion. For a moment, he couldn't understand what made his sister unhappy. "It's a big problem." Tan Kinja rolled her eyes, feeling even more unhappy. "Liang, you don't know the inside story. You know, I've been away from home for many years, and my family has never asked me a question." Tan Kinja laughed at herself and said, "You can't suppress your charming body, but you can only forget your feelings. Hidden in a small sect, among those in the family, who is willing to say a word to me? There is only my aunt. Although she doesn't have much contact with me on weekdays, she treats me like she was a child. I know in my heart that my aunt always cares about me, but because of her temper, she rarely wants to interact with others." Listening to Tan Kinja talking about herself, Suliang sighed, somewhat sighing. These so-called big families lack some human touch, and are actually inferior to some small sects. Then they invite you, sister, to go back to attend the annual meeting this time. Suliang asked again. There was no news for several years, but now he was suddenly invited to the annual meeting. How could this seem wrong? Oh, you haven't done anything for so many years, and you are just looking for me now. You probably don't have good intentions. Tan Kinja shook her head, her eyes full of contempt. It's just because of certain interests. Let's not talk about it. When the time comes, we will just show off. Is it possible that they can really do anything to me? After that, Tan Kinja tore the letter into pieces, let it fly in the wind, and stopped looking at it. But despite this, Suliang could see that his sister was still in a depressed mood. After all, it was the home where she grew up, and the people in that home were considered her family. It was precisely because they were family members that they treated her like this, which made her feel depressed. See this. Suliang was silent for a moment, then stepped forward, hugged Tan Kinja, and asked with concern, "Sister, are you feeling a little unhappy? Do not worry about me." Tan Kinja forced a smile and shook her head. "I'm fine. I'll recover soon." But Suliang retorted, "My sister's business is my business. If there is something wrong with my sister, I must tell her." With that said, Suliang gently kissed Tan Kinja's forehead and said, "Don't be sad. It's a big family. People's hearts are unpredictable. Unless they are born of flesh and blood, it's hard to have true feelings. Sister, don't worry about this. Moreover, my sister now has a family. She has me, Benjeo, Master, and Kaoj and the others. We are all my sister's family, and we will always stay with her and never leave her. Although our family is not big and we don't have any prominent status, we have each other, so that's enough, isn't it?" Tan Kinja nodded slightly, tears of emotion flashing in her eyes. Suddenly, Tan Kinja raised her head, her red lips pressed against Suliang's lips. After a long time, the two gradually separated. "Liang, take me back to the room." Tan Kinja's voice was soft and charming, her brows full of spring, and she was extremely emotional at this moment. "Good." Suliang nodded, and the princess picked up Tan Kinja and returned to the room. By this time, it was afternoon. The two of them had not even eaten lunch. When they appeared in front of everyone again, they looked full and satisfied. One was holding onto his waist, and the other was even shaking his legs. From then on, Suliang transformed into serving the little prince and began to take meticulous and personal care of Tan Kinja. In the afternoon, everyone was sitting in the yard chatting and talking, but Suliang sat next to Tan Kinja, his eyes never leaving Tan Kinja. At this moment, a gust of cold wind blew by, blowing up everyone's clothes. However, although the cold wind was biting, it could not penetrate the clothes of the immortal cultivators in the yard. Immortal cultivators, who have reached a certain level of cultivation, have long been immune to the cold and heat, and a few small cold winds are nothing. But even so, Suliang still took off the thick coat he was wearing, turned around and put it on Tan Kinja, tightened the collar of Tan Kinja, and then said, "Sister, be careful, don't catch the cold." Tan Kinja nodded and accepted Suliang's care with peace of mind, but her eyebrows were smiling and she was happy. Seeing this, all the girls pouted slightly, feeling a little bit disgusted. I'm not envious, not at all envious of Tan Kinja having an extra piece of clothing on her body. We are already cultivating immortals, and it is just a gust of cold wind, which is not worthy of adding a piece of clothing. Do you think it's the clothes we envy? What we envy is obviously Suliang's care. During dinner, Suliang sat next to Tan Kinja, even squeezing Qin Benjeo aside. Picking up a delicacy with chopsticks, Suliang handed it to Tan Kinja's mouth. "Sister, I made this specially for you. It's your favorite dish. Try it. Does it taste good?" Tan Kinja smiled and stuffed the delicious food into her mouth, chewing and chewing, the happy smile on her face never broke. Well, it's delicious. Liang's cooking skills are as good as ever. Tan Kinja said with a smile, and the sweet feeling in her voice made people envious. See this. Qin Benjao also came up and opened her mouth. Sulang, ah, I want it too, I want it too. You are a big boy, you should learn to eat by yourself. Suliang turned his head and said expressionlessly. Sulang doesn't love me anymore. Qin Benjao covered her face and burst into tears, feeling extremely aggrieved. And this moment, the other people looked at Suliang and Tan Kinja with a strong sense of resentment in their eyes, which was overwhelming. Why can't the husband, take such caring and personal care of Tan Kinja, and take care of us in the same way? Woo-hoo-hoo, Tan Kinja, you thief, give us your husband's love back. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 349. I'm so envious, I really want my husband to take care of me. He was so envious that he almost started fighting on the spot. The second day. Volume 1 # Chapter 328, Bullying the Witch is not a piece of cake. Wan Qing, Tan Kinja, Jing Men, Ying Chao Ji, Qin Wan asked 5 people to sit aside and watch. In the courtyard, Suliang and Tao Yaoyao were face to face. They were waiting in formation and were extremely serious. It's useless to work behind closed doors. Keep practicing without fighting, which is also useless for your cultivation. But after all, we can't catch some people for you to train, so that's all we have to do. Wan Qing said calmly from the side, so, you guys will keep practicing today. In this way, you can not only increase your accumulation and control of your progress during this period, but also gain some practical experience. In one fell swoop, get more. So, you all can't be merciful. With a few of us watching from the side, we will never hurt you, so you can fight without fear. Yes. Suliang and Tao Yaoyao responded at the same time, but Suliang's voice was serious and Tao Yaoyao was a little reluctant. Daoyao, do you have any objections? Listening to Tao Yaoyao's voice, Wan Qing asked. I don't want to fight Brother Suliang. Tao Yaoyao had a bitter look on her face, she almost believed what she said. This matter is non-negotiable. Wan Qing shook her head, not giving Tao Yaoyao any face. All right. Tao Yaoyao nodded frustratedly, looked at Suliang again, and said aggrievedly, Brother Suliang, I'm sorry, I don't want to do anything to you, but Senior Wan Qing insists on it, so Yaoyao has no choice but to obey. The words just fell. Tao Yaoyao fluttered her palms, pierced flowers and picked leaves, and hit Suliang with one palm. This method of attack can still be of some use against unprepared people, but in this kind of sparring, it won't be of much use, right? Suliang turned sideways to avoid Tao Yaoyao's attack, chuckled, and slapped him with his backhand, but subconsciously moved his palm downwards, hitting Tao Yaoyao's small and straight part. Snapped. There was an extremely clear sound, and Tao Yaoyao jumped forward and screamed, yeah. Immediately, covering her back with her hands, Tao Yaoyao turned around with a flushed face. Her beautiful eyes were half ashamed and half charming, staring at Suliang, her red lips slightly pursed. Brother Suliang, how can you hit someone else? Is it your fault? Suliang spread his hands with an innocent look on his face. You didn't respect martial ethics and sneaked up on me, a 20-year-old boy. In desperation, I shot randomly. I could have hit him anywhere, right? Humph, you did it on purpose. Tao Yaoyao glared at Suliang in shame, raised her palms, and shouted, "Brother Suliang, watch your move." After saying that, he hit Suliang with another palm. The wind howled in the palm, carrying biting wind and frost, and it was like a blade from a long distance away, causing pain on the person's face. The power of this palm was incomparable to the playful palm before. Obviously, a witch like Tao Yao Yao felt a little embarrassed after being slapped on her soft and upright body as if teasing. Facing this palm that was enough to break stones, Suliang remained calm. When Tao Yao Yao approached him, he used one hand like thunder to grab the weak spot on Tao Yao Yao's arm. Wherever he hit, Tao Yao Yao was unable to use up her strength. This palm wind naturally softened. Immediately afterwards, Suliang stretched out his hand and pulled Tao Yao Yao towards him, but he passed by Tao Yao Yao sideways and hit the same spot again with a backhand palm. Snapped. There was another crisp sound, and the softness behind Tao Yao Yao rippled. "Brother Suliang." Tao Yao Yao blocked her back and turned around again, glaring at Suliang like a cat with fried hair. Her pretty face was as red as blood, and her eyes were full of shame and annoyance. "Ahem, mistake, it was really a mistake this time," Suliang explained with some embarrassment. To be honest, he really didn't mean it. It was because the previous touch felt so good that it was memorable, so he couldn't help but find the target again. "Humph, I'm angry," Tao Yao Yao scolded, as if she was really angry. The winds from her palms continued one after another, like waves rushing towards Suliang. Each wave was higher than the other, and the power became more and more powerful. Then, Tao Yao Yao was beaten to death by Suliang with one hand. Suliang attacked Tao Yao Yao's weak point with all his moves. Although he used skill, she did not feel pain. However, when she was being played with in front of someone, the popping sounds made Tao Yao Yao his face was red and bleeding, and his heart was extremely angry. At last, as Suliang once again suppressed her with one hand and slapped her behind with a very familiar slap, Tao Yao Yao finally no longer wanted to do anything. "Hey, brother Suliang is bullying." Tao Yao Yao's eyes were slightly red, and her pretty red face was full of grievances. She glared at Suliang with her lips pursed, her voice was full of shame and grievance, and she was about to shed tears. What? Not only did he not teach Suliang a lesson, but he let her play with her once. What the hell? It's not your opponent at all. Obviously his cultivation level is not much different from Suliang's, and he is a disciple of the master of the Dao sect, so why can't he beat Suliang? Why is he so powerful? Thinking in her heart, Tao Yao Yao felt more and more aggrieved. Looking at the weird eyes of Wan Qing and others who were watching the battle, Tao Yao Yao finally couldn't stand it anymore and covered her face in tears. Immediately afterwards, there was a contest between Qin Benjiao and Mu Qing Qian. The two of them are a fairy from the Tiandao sect and a goddess from the righteous path. They are both of the most talented people in the world. They are also similar in age and have similar cultivation levels. They are the strongest people of the younger generation. Just standing there, the confrontation between the two people's momentum has already caused the spiritual energy fluctuations in this small courtyard to be extremely disordered. Even those who are at the peak of the dragon transformation realm are probably trembling and weak because of the confrontation between the two people's momentum. After the two faced each other for a moment, the next moment, they actually took action at the same time, slashing towards each other with a sword. Different from the previous playful fight between Suliang and Tao Yao Yao, Qin Benjiao and Mu Qing Qian were evenly matched at this time. You came and I went back and forth, and between the swords, no one could do anything to the other. Such a battle was really enjoyable to watch, and Suliang couldn't help but applaud. Tan Qinjia, who was watching her apprentice fight against Mu Qing Qian, felt a little melancholy in her heart at this moment. Looking back at the beginning, my apprentice was only in the innate realm, and he was as far away from his immortal realm as clouds and mud. Not to mention his own Ailiang, he is just a being who has just been disabled and has no cultivation level. But what about now? How long has it been since then? Both my disciples and my men have surpassed myself. Thinking about it carefully, I have inexplicably transformed from a force that can provide protection for my apprentices and men to a think tank. After telling his man about his melancholy, Suliang looked at Tan Kinja with a smile. Sister's role is more than just a think tank. Sister, you have to know your own position. In addition to military force and intelligence, my sister is now a first-class rich woman. Relying on the silk stocking industry, my sister is making a fortune every day. After hearing this, Tan Kinja thought about it carefully and found that it seemed to be true. Well, I feel much better all of a sudden. After the sparring session ended, Wan Qing, Jing Meng, and Tan Kinja each pointed out the shortcomings of Suliang and the others, and then everyone dispersed. At this moment, Tao Yaoyao suddenly approached Suliang. Brother Suliang. Tao Yaoyao's voice was sweet and cute. After seeing Suliang stop, she walked to Suliang's side. She pinched the corners of her clothes with her beautiful hands, a flash of light flashed in her eyes, she raised her head slightly and looked at Suliang with big cute eyes. Liang, brother Suliang, I have something to do at home and I need to go back. Brother Suliang, do you want to go back with me? You're just going home, why do you need me to accompany you? Suliang was a little confused. It's of no use if I go back with you. Instead, it might cause some trouble. I think it's not necessary, right? No, no, I just want brother Suliang to accompany me back. Tao Yaoyao quit, and stepped forward, hugged Suliang's arm, and let Suliang's arm sink into her pair of peaks, shaking it from side to side, rubbing back and forth. The road is high and the road is long. It's difficult and difficult, I'm scared to be alone, so brother Suliang will accompany me back. Tao Yaoyao's voice was sweet and soft, and she coquettishly asked Suliang to accompany her back. Her voice was so pure that it made people feel like their face and bones were all numb, and they couldn't help but move. This. Suliang was a little hesitant about accompanying the little girl home. Although she usually called Tao Yaoyao and Suliang's brother, Suliang didn't think she was sincere. Brother Suliang, why don't you stay with me? Tao Yaoyao continued to shake Suliang's arm, letting Suliang's arm rub back and forth between her peaks, which made her feel like a gurgling stream. The already perfect clip sound began to reach perfection under the gurgling stream. To the state of transformation. At this moment, Qin Benjao came over and sent a wave of assists. Suliang is fine anyway, so just go back with Yao Yao. I have a good relationship with Yao Yao, and I don't want to see Yao Yao in danger. With Suliang accompanying me, I can feel more at ease. Push it out, you must push your man out. Qin Benjao thought secretly in her heart, feeling extremely sinister. Seeing that his girlfriend had said this, Suliang hesitated for a moment, then nodded, okay, I don't have anything to do lately anyway, I just need to go with Yao Yao. Hearing this, Tao Yaoyao immediately showed a happy smile, threw herself on Suliang, hugged Suliang's neck and said, brother Suliang is the best. Subconsciously hugging the soft and delicate body in his arms, Suliang subconsciously hugged her a little tighter and lifted it up, but it landed right on the peak of Dao Yaoyao, between 2 points and one line. Well. With a muffled groan, Tao Yaoyao's eyes immediately became blurred. Although she was very shy, she was too embarrassed to continue acting. She just lowered her head with a slightly red face, feeling the afterglow receding. No matter how seductive she is, she has never had close contact with the opposite sex, and she is a pretty girl, so naturally she is more restrained. Mu Qingqian on the side heard the conversation here, frowned slightly, walked over, glanced at Tao Yaoyao who was hanging on Suliang with a slightly worried look, and said immediately, it is true that the mountains are high and the road is long. There may be many changes along the way, so why don't I go with senior brother Su and Tao Yaoyao? No. Jingmeng directly refuted his apprentice's suggestion, failing to understand his apprentice's intention at all. Suliang is fine, Qingqian, you still have important things to do. My master just happened to find a place to practice, and I want to take you there to hone your sword heart. Besides, with Suliang's cultivation strength, no one can hurt him, so why should you worry? After hearing this, Mu Qingqian's mentality almost exploded, and his expression management almost failed. Master, do you think I am worried that senior brother Su will be hurt? Senior brother Su is so powerful, how could he be hurt by others? I have great confidence in senior brother Su. I'm not worried that if the demon girl spends time with senior brother Su, she might have some evil thoughts about senior brother Su, or even attack him. Senior brother Su is mine, but, you can't steal a friend's man, but even if it's not mine, it's still Benjao's. How can I just watch Benjao's man be snatched away by a witch? But after all, it is hard to disobey the master's orders. Even though Mu Qingqian was unwilling to do so, she could only nod. Oh, master, I understand. Immediately, Jingmeng looked at Qin Benjao again. Benjao, your cultivation level is similar to that of Qingqian. That experience will also be useful to you. You can also come with us. Hearing this, Qin Benjao blinked in confusion. What about my benefits? After cleaning up, everyone was about to separate, but before leaving, Wan Qing suddenly called Suliang into her room. Master, what do you want from me? My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 350. Suliang asked doubtfully, not knowing clearly. I have something to tell you. Wan Qing had a faint smile on her face. In the devil's way, there is an opportunity. If you follow Tao Yao Yao this time, you can just get this opportunity back. Opportunity? Can I get it back along the way? Suliang asked curiously. That's natural. Otherwise, why do you think my master would allow you to follow Tao Yao Yao? Wan Qing nodded matter-of-factly. Opportunity is something that naturally belongs to those who are destined to live in it. Since she knows where opportunity exists, there is no reason to let it go. Okay, I understand. Suliang nodded and agreed, then asked, Master, is there anything else you can do? Pursing her red lips lightly, Wan Qing stood up and walked to Suliang, raising her head with a little light shining in her eyes. Immediately, Wan Qing opened her arms, opened her mind, smiled like a flower, and said softly, we are about to say goodbye, why don't we give you a hug? Hearing this, Suliang was startled, but then he directly took the master into his arms, and then moved towards the master's pink and soft lips. Boom! The thoughts in Wan Qing's mind seemed to explode. At this moment, her mind went blank. After a long time, their lips parted. After giving his master a forceful kiss, Suliang smiled and patted his master on the head. Don't worry, master, I'll be back soon. Volume 1 Chapter 329, Opening up the Magic Path of Wisdom from Past Lives and Simple Folk Customs. After saying that, Suliang turned and left, leaving Wan Qing alone in the room. Wan Qing slowly sat on the chair beside her, but her thoughts were racing in her heart. In fact, she still has one of the back UPS in her hands that can help Master unlock the wisdom of past lives. However, because of her various thoughts before, this backup was treasured by her and never used. But the kiss just now made her understand one thing. Wan Qing knew that she could not continue for her own selfish reasons. Not to mention, now, I should be considered to have entered Master's heart, right? Thinking in her mind, Wan Qing's lips curved into a sweet smile. In the wilderness jungle, a man and a woman are walking slowly. When they encounter the mountains and forests, they will stop hunting and barbecue. When they encounter the river, they will stop to take a bath and rest, even for a while. Anywhere with good scenery can make two people stop. And these two figures are Suliang and Tao Yaoyao, who left Shengjing. You're not in a hurry to get home. The journey was very leisurely. Following Tao Yaoyao, Suliang said helplessly. The end is just the goal. The journey along the way is the most important thing. Tao Yaoyao had a pure and sweet smile on her face. Looking at the surrounding scenery, she seemed to be really immersed in it, enjoying herself. Seeing this, Suliang helplessly raised his forehead. He really couldn't understand what this witch was thinking. And just then, Tao Yaoyao suddenly pointed not far ahead and shouted excitedly, "Brother Suliang, look, there is a river in the woods ahead. The water is very clear. Let's go there and take a rest. Just in time, I want to take a bath too." Say it. Without waiting for Suliang's consent, Tao Yaoyao flew over, jumped directly into the river, and disappeared. See this. Suliang sighed helplessly and had no choice but to follow. Suliang ran over quickly. Knowing that Tao Yaoyao's clothes were intact, he didn't pay too much attention to anything. He just stood on the shore and shouted, "Yao Yao! Where have you been?" But when the words came out, no one responded, as if Tao Yaoyao had been washed away along the river long ago. But Suliang naturally wouldn't think so. Just kidding, Tao Yaoyao is considered a master. A dignified immortal cultivator can temporarily block his breathing for a period of time if necessary. How could he drown in the water and be washed away by the water? Then, Suliang was not in a hurry. He just stood on the shore and shouted, "Yao Yao, if you don't come out, I will leave by myself." The words just fell. A soft and charming voice sounded behind him, "Oh, brother Suliang is not fun, why are you in a hurry? I haven't had a good bath yet." Hearing the sound, Suliang turned around to look, but as soon as the words came to his lips, he swallowed them back. "I saw." Tao Yaoyao stood in front of him crisply, but her clothes were already soaked. The content inside, whether it was the proud peak, the two dots and lines of pink on it, or the dew grass in the deep valley, they are all vague and quite subtle. Even Suliang could see the cute spot on her flat belly through her soaked clothes. The water droplets rolled down on Dao Yao's face, and her hair was dripping. At this moment, Dao Yao's pretty face was pink and red, as fresh and delicious as a peach. After being washed by the stream, it became even fresher and brighter, which made people endure. Can't help but want to take a bite. Hiss. Suliang took a deep breath. The enchantress was wet, it was really tempting. Seeing Suliang's appearance, Tao Yaoyao brushed the strands of hair around her ears, but she didn't care at all about being looked at. She just took a step forward and looked at Suliang curiously. "Brother Suliang, you are like this, what happened?" After saying this, he took another step forward. His whole body was almost pressed against Suliang's body, and through the wet clothes, Tao Yaoyao's content was close to Suliang's. The feeling was more obvious and had a different taste. If she was just an inadvertent temptation before, then now, she is really starting to seduce. But even Suliang didn't notice the flash of a narrow smile on Tao Yaoyao's lips. That's right, her gesture at this moment was precisely to charm and tease Suliang. "Humph, Suliang, I don't believe that you're still not tempted this time." Tao Yaoyao pretended to be curious and doubtful, but in her heart, she was full of confidence. Feeling the wetness in his arms, the delicate body with a different kind of smoothness and softness, and the faint fragrance lingering on the tip of his nose, Suliang immediately came back to his senses, his face expressionless. "What should I do if I am seduced by a witch? At this time, it's time to show what special training for straight men is. Yao Yao, stop making trouble. It's cold now. If you come out so wet, you'll get sick." Suliang touched Tao Yaoyao's head and said, "Come on, I'll dry it for you." Say it. True essence gushes out, the temperature gradually rises, and Suliang shows what 3-second drying is. Suliang's actions were so smooth that Tao Yaoyao couldn't even react. In the end, she could only stare at Suliang in stunned silence, feeling greatly shocked. God, is Suliang just a piece of wood? No, what you hinted at is already obvious enough. And immediately after, as if to punish Tao Yaoyao for teasing her, Suliang threw her aside, took out a delicious thigh of the ferocious beast, lit a bonfire on the spot, and began to barbecue. Yao Yao, you go take a bath. It's just in time. I'll take advantage of this time to eat something. When you come out, we'll be on our way. But, people also want to eat? Tao Yaoyao stared at the barbecue in Suliang's hand that exuded the alluring aroma. She felt that if she could eat something, bathing or something, it wouldn't be that important. After all, I was only out for a day, so there was no need to take a shower. But Suliang shook his head. No, you have to take a bath, you must take a bath, but we are in a hurry, so you don't have time to eat after you take a bath. Suliang looked at Tao Yaoyao seriously and spoke firmly. But. Tao Yaoyao still wanted to fight for Suliang, but seeing that Suliang's attitude was firm, there was no room for change. In the end, she had no choice but to say, "Oh, okay, I know." After that, Tao Yaoyao walked into the stream with small steps, turning back 3 times at a time. The whole person was soaked in the stream. Tao Yaoyao looked at the barbecue in Suliang's hand and swallowed with difficulty, her eyes filled with tears and aggrieved. Woohoo, Suliang, you are so cruel, you don't even give me a meal. Are you hungry? If I had known earlier, I would have stopped teasing him. This is great. Not only did I not successfully tease him, but I also lost money and lost money. Volume 1 #picture 330 Going one step further, will the witch also feel ashamed? Continuing to walk on the territory of the demonic path, soon, a man lying on the ground who looked like he was dying appeared in front of Suliang and Tao Yaoyao. Seeing this, Suliang hurriedly took a few steps forward and asked with concern, "Master, how are you?" I encountered an enemy who intercepted and killed." The man who was seriously injured and on the verge of death was panting and talking. The vitality in his body was extremely dim, and it seemed that he might die at any time. On his stomach, a bone-deep wound was gushing with blood. He could vaguely see the internal organs moving with difficulty inside, but they already had little power. No matter who looked at it, it seemed that this man had no hope of survival. "Please, sir, do something for me." The man's voice was hoarse and weak. "I'm about to die. If sir agrees to help me, it's hard to repay a great kindness. I'm willing to give all my life's income to sir." "You, first tell me what you want me to do for you." Suliang did not agree immediately. "I want my husband to help me, die for me." As soon as he finished speaking, the seriously injured and dying man suddenly rose up, a cold light suddenly appeared in his hand, and stabbed Suliang. Caught off guard, Suliang seemed to be frightened by this turn of events and was frozen in place, unable to move. But just when he was about to succeed, Suliang suddenly dodged to avoid the man's attack, turned around and slashed the man's throat with a sword. Blood spurted out, and the man looked at Suliang in disbelief, seemingly unable to imagine how Suliang could see through his plan. As expected of the devil, this atmosphere is really simple and honest. Suliang sighed with emotion. "In just one day, I have been attacked several times. Some pretend to be injured like you, and some openly besiege. Do you think I will still be fooled by you?" Immediately, regardless of the demon who had died, Suliang turned to look at Tao Yaoyao and asked curiously, "Let me tell you, why did you come here?" "Oh, brother Suliang, please don't ask any more questions." Tao Yaoyao hesitated, unwilling to speak out. "Just follow me. You will know when we get to the place." After walking for a long time, across rivers and mountains, Suliang and Tao Yao Yao finally arrived at a quiet and secluded small village. At this time, it was the time when children were having fun. After seeing Tao Yao Yao, many children playing at the entrance of the village, their eyes lit up, and they gathered around her happily and excitedly. "Sister Yao Yao, you are back." The children gathered around Tao Yao Yao, jumping up and down with surprise smiles on their faces. "Well, sister is back.